So, my main mission is to help professionals, entrepreneurs to really understand how to amplify their voice. So that way, when they're in the boardroom or when they're on stage or hey, maybe even talking one on one with Audley or some amazing other person they're speaking with, that they can become confident with using their words to tell a story that will make an impact as well. Because Audley, listen, I believe that stories change lives. I believe that stories can let you bloom just like these flowers behind me. And when you use your story in a powerful way, you truly can change the world in a
Although being impactful is quite audacious. And so thank you for touching on the impact. And maybe kind of the starting work, since we're talking about impact, let's talk about your impact and the work that you do to help people get to a better place.
Thank you so much. Yes, yes. So I am a woman who is truly on a mission. So impact should almost be my middle name.
I love it.
Um, but one of the things that I really, really love to do is amplify voices. And so in my role, I call myself not only a world changer, but my professional title is a communications strategist. So my main mission is to help professionals, entrepreneurs to really understand how to amplify their voice. So that way, when they're in the boardroom or when they're on stage or hey, maybe even talking one on one with Audley or some amazing other person they're speaking with, that they can become confident with using their words to tell a story that will make an impact as well. Because Audley, listen, I believe that stories change lives. I believe that stories can let you bloom just like these flowers behind me. And when you use your story in a powerful way, you truly can change the world in an audacious way, should I say.
Absolutely. I'm with you wholeheartedly on this story. And for a couple of reasons. Two things that jump out to me and why stories are so impactful. One, regardless of what I'm going through, let's say it's a challenging moment I'm happening in my life. And in that instance, I oftentimes feel I'm alone. No one understands. No one, can feel the pain that I'm feeling. No one's been to the place I've been at. And then when you hear someone say, yeah, I was there, that does something to you. Then the next thing, when you hear, and you've got this person who's at this terrible place that you're at, and now they're in front of you. So now it becomes, okay, what did they do to get to where they are now? And so it truly is life-changing, and that's why sharing, I'm a big fan, proponent of sharing our stories as much as possible, because again, we can make a difference and again, make the impact like you talked about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's something about the vulnerability moment. And like you mentioned, that people say, wow, I'm not the only one. And that's when we feel connected. Stories connect people to each other. And that's why I love them so much, because I believe in meaningful connections where we can talk and where we can really share, but where we're connecting, where people are like, I'm not alone in this. You have shared your story and now I know that I can overcome what I'm going through because you share with me through your story how you overcame. Maybe if they're still going through it, what they're going through to kind of go through that process of that now moment. So that's why I love stories. And we tell them every day, Ollie. We don't even realize it, but we say them every day. Because I was just telling somebody a story about my traffic going on the streets, on the highways and byways, but it was a story and we don't realize it. But when you make them impactful, that's what matters.
Talk about the stories we tell ourselves, Jasmine, because that's also important. Those stories are also quite important because they help essentially frame the direction of our lives.
Ooh, that's a good one. And every single day we can tell our story whatever we want. These narratives that we have, like you said, they can change your focus point with your mind. And sometimes we can wake up and not even realize it, but we can have like a I call it a stinking thinking. It just it smells so bad. That stinking thinking mentality.
Yes.
And we'll say, oh, well, it's another day. Or Monday, some people say, oh, Monday. And that sets the tone for really how your week is going to
Yes.
start.
Yes.
But then if you say, oh, yes, it's a Monday, or however jubilant way you say it,
Yes.
that you will really set that tone. But I truly believe in the power of speaking life. And life is so important because life is like saying, hey, today's going to be a great day. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just feel something great's going to happen to me. I feel that I'm going to meet someone amazing to tell my story, or I feel that something's going to even happen as we even close on this year, because this year has almost went by so
Yeah,
quickly.
that's great.
But I feel greatness is still coming. So it's sometimes the narratives that we say with even our words that can shape, like you said, our mindset and the
Yes.
trajectory of our lives. And it's important because that's how you can dream and how you can believe for more when you do things.
And so when we talk about, and everyone's at some point has heard about the law of attraction and how you bring things in your lives and bring things to you. It does start with, again, the way you think and your approach, your mindset, and it allows you to see situations differently, right? So
Mhm.
it's always funny when you look at a situation. Two people can go in it and come up with a totally different experience, and that
Yes.
difference is just the way they think about it.
It's all perspective. I had so many situations. It was so interesting. I was listening to somebody a few days ago, and they were sharing about how they were pursuing a dream of theirs. They invested a lot of money, and they said that they shared it with their family member, and their family member's like, "Listen, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, it don't make no sense."
Right.
But that lets you know that their perspective, they saw opportunity, but then the
Yes.
family member didn't see it. And this is why we have to not only have a perspective of believing for more, but then also know how to be able to share it, but then also be around like minded
Yes.
people who you can continue to flourish with just as well.
Yeah.
Because perspective is important on
Yeah.
how you continue to look at different things.
Yeah, yeah, being around like-minded people is so important because sometimes the people who we love, who are the ones going, "Well, I'm not too sure," and it's not that they're doing it out of spite or malice. They truly do love us, but they're tapping. Sometimes they can tap into their own fears. Maybe they've had situations, their own experiences that have led them down a certain way. So it's very, again, we want to be clear that we're sharing, but we want to be sharing with the right people. If
With the
that makes
right
sense to you?
people. Absolutely, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly believe it because who you share it with is important. But then also when they see it, then that's a story for them that you can share to help change their perspective on
Right,
things.
right. Absolutely. So when we talk about, we touch, beliefs and our dreams and how we, pursue our lives. Maybe we should start with your story, Jasmine. How did you get here? And what was Jasmine's dream as a little girl as she looked out in the big wide world?
Oh my goodness, younger Jasmine is coming within me. But like if I were to look at myself at my 10-year-old self,
Yeah.
my 10-year-old self was almost like, I want to become a motivational speaker. I want to become an author. I want to become an actress. I want to do so many things. I just want to do it. And you know what? I would truly say that my younger self actually had an opportunity to do all of that. So I ended up working at 17 in radio. That was one of my big goals, and in addition to motivational speaking,
Yep.
I wanted to be in radio and I wanted to work in radio. So at 17, I started working in radio and had an internship with Top 105.7. Shout out to Larry Steele, who mentored me. But it was so amazing because I had the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of radio, learning programming, learning about how to speak and articulate for different formats. And from there, that wasn't actually an urban format. I went to NPR, then gospel. So I had a chance of being with different audiences and
Yes.
different genres, but it allowed me to also understand how to speak to different audiences on different stories. We never realize, oddly, in our adventures, how your life sets you up for where you're going.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as that younger self, you say, I want to be this when I grow up. And you don't realize it, but you're speaking life into it. And so your path just follows you. So after working in radio, I ended up looking for a big gig, like most people, because you're
Sure.
trying to
Sure.
get more and audacious when it comes to living your life.
Yeah.
And I travel actually from different cities. So New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and just looking for new opportunities. And it was hard, I have to admit, because
Yeah.
the economy was a little bit different at that time. Things were shifting as it is today and trying
Yes.
to keep up with different things. And I
Yes.
remember I always had to stand out. I was like, oh, if I have a great elevator pitch, I'll stand out in such a great way. So I started working on how to stand out, but I also started teaching other people how to do it too. I'm like, hey, when you're looking for a job and you want to stand out, use this when you're communicating. Speak this and tell this story, and that will make you stand out even more. So that actually got me into training individuals how to speak what I call now their powerful statements. And so from there, it started going into teaching others how to tell their story. So I started becoming a communication strategist, and
Yep.
then I started motivating people because like,
Yeah.
you can do it, test it out.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I started becoming a motivational speaker, but I believe that, you're not just to dream one dream because that inner 10-year-old self has other dreams too. So started getting into acting. So worked various different films and projects on set. So I live a life what I call on set and on stage. But most of all, I do things to help change the world through communications. And most of all, what I'm a huge advocate of, joy to the world.
Yeah, and you certainly bring lots and lots and lots of it, Jasmine. In fact, I'm often told that, Audley, you've got such great energy. You're so high energy, and now I know what people are talking about. I'm experiencing that with you, and it's amazing.
Well,
Please
thank
keep it
you.
up. Please keep it up. And thank you for sharing your backstory, your origin story, if you will, because I think it's so important that people understand, the significance of dreaming. And I love the fact that you sort of talk about we're not just one layer. Why not have 10, 15, 20 different things that you want to do, and why not do all of them? The world is at our disposal, and we can, our world's our oyster, so to speak. And so I think those options are there for us. And I very much like the way that you've pursued that. And the interesting thing part about that is when you sort of stop and look back, you can kind of see where all the dots are connected, and it all makes sense. Like the point that we are in this exact moment, where we sit in this exact moment, is exactly where we're supposed to be based on our journey.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that when we were little and that question was asked to all of us, no matter where you were in the world, I'm sure a teacher said, or your mother, what do you want to be when you grow up? And someone could have said, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a train conductor or a dancer. But we said these things when we were little, whatever that dream may be. And then
Yes.
somehow, some way, when you grew older, you saw maybe some of those elements of what you said in that younger self coming into your roles in your job and your entrepreneurship. And that's what made that dream happen. It may not look like how you said it, but I truly believe that we do have a purpose and that we have gifts and talents. And those gifts and talents can go into your work sphere. And as you're using that, that's actually something you can use to change the world in whatever sector, whatever industry that you're in, and use it, but then believe big or believe audaciously big
Love
in
it.
everything that you do.
I vividly remember, grade 5, Miss Watson said to, little Audley, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a comedian. And that was my life mission, to be a comedian. And it's funny and to your point that you just made, how things creep into that, into your life. I was never a comedian, but I certainly have found ways where I can bring joy to people and I can have an impact on people. So it is very much to what you said. It does seep into your life, and maybe it doesn't go exactly as you plan, but I kind of think that I'm doing pretty good overall. And so, dream,
Yes, you are.
dream, 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 dream.
Yes, I approve that message. You're doing very well.
I love it. Again, just the significance of dreaming, and I think if we can continue to encourage people to be mindful of that. That's when we talk about the top about impact. That's where we certainly can have by far the biggest impact. And I was on, I took a peek at your website, very informative, by the way. Got lots of great stuff there. And I saw a quote that I had to record. I had to make a note of that because you said, no matter where you are in life, make a positive mark. You can make a positive mark that cannot be erased. So powerful, Jasmine.
Because I believe that everything that we do can become something positive. Remember, we mentioned perspectives, but when we have a perspective of something being positive, I can look at one situation of maybe having a delay. Like yesterday, I was on the road traveling from doing set work, and someone had happened to go in front of me on the road. And I had a perspective, and I could have been like, oh, but instead I said, you know what? It's okay. I'm fine. Long as we're safe, I'm good. But it's the perspective and that same type of energy, that same type of spirit lighting me just to be able to just flow in such positivity. But that one positive part may not have changed the world. It changed just that sphere where I was. But then my personality then went on the phone with someone else, and that helped someone else with good vibes too. And so now I'm with you, and I didn't let that affect me, and it's still with you. So it's a domino effect that it causes great positivity. Now we're on the Audacious podcast here, and now this is going to be something that's going to change even more. So it's that energy that still flows, and you change the world, positive impact all the way.
And you did it through your story, right? You started off with your story. The other thing that you did that you touched on, and I want to highlight because it's easy for us to think it's not a big deal, is you had that internal conversation with yourself. And you said, hey, okay, and move on, right? And when you can do that, and because what's involved there is that power of kind of pausing, right? Pause, take a moment, not react. And that's something that people oftentimes will need a lot of work in terms of remaining composed and not losing control of their emotions. But I know it's a lot. I'm saying a lot here. Do this, do this, do this, do this. But if you can find a way to kind of put that all together and make a little soup out of it, I think you're on a great path.
Absolutely. And that can happen anywhere, not just while you're driving on the highways, but it can happen in corporate America. It can happen in entrepreneurship, customer service, sales, whatever you are doing. It's a role that you can be able to still place a positive mark. And so that's what I mean. Make a positive mark in the world that can never be erased.
Love it. I love it. I love it. So then from your perspective, what do you think is holding people back? And sort of the top thing or two things, or maybe it's just one thing. What would you say it is?
I think, to be honest, fear. And why I say fear is the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
The unknown is what holds people back. Well, I don't know if I do this, what's going to happen. I don't know if I do this, how it's going to turn out. So the fear of the unknown can get people where they're like, I'm not even going to touch it. I'm comfortable. I'm safe. This is what's going to happen. And I feel that has been a top factor for so many individuals, whether it's speaking their story, whether it's moving for more opportunities in life and dreaming audaciously big. But whatever it is, it's the fear of the unknown that's keeping people stagnant and they don't move forward.
Yeah. Fear is a big one. And I saw an acronym once: false evidence appearing real. And cute acronym, absolutely. But there's a lot of truth in that, right? Because sometimes that fear it's unfounded. It's something we've created in our heads. Maybe we talked about a family member. Maybe it's their fear that we're being on us, or a friend or a loved one is saying, "Hey, this is my fear. Let me share it and give it to you, and you take that on." And there's so many different things that possibly could be. But so when we talk about and one of the things we talk about this podcast a lot is being audacious enough to take that first step, because you just don't know where it'll go.
I love that. And you know what, Audley, I think about Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, and it's my favorite quote, and it is, faith is taking the first step without even knowing. And I probably jazzed it up a little bit, but
you did, as you were, as your style, absolutely. I'd expect no less.
but he basically said, take that step. And so that goes with what you all believe at Audacious Living, that you take that step. And it's so important to get out of that fear of unknown, taking that step.
I remember once talking to a friend of mine who was talking about, and of course, we all remember the pandemic, and everyone, there's a million and one stories that came out of the pandemic. And she was telling me about a time where, she was at home and she was, trying to figure out what to do with herself because everyone was locked in and didn't have the ability to come out and live life. And she started, she revisited rather her love of music. And that brought her back to the piano. And she's playing the piano and she's bringing herself joy. And someone kind of said to her, hey, have you ever thought about maybe teaching others? And she started with one student, and then two students, and three students. Now she's in a class of 12 people. She's now talking about almost creating a new career of being a piano teacher and how much she loves and enjoys that. And again, that wouldn't have happened if she didn't make that first step. And so again, we encourage that because you never know where it will go. And there's a part of this where it's just a matter of trusting and taking that step and going to see what happens.
Exactly. And I believe that as we're taking that process to have the right perspective, like, what if? That's the word that we should have. What if?
Yeah.
What if, instead of the fear of the unknown, what if I do this and I make it big? What if I do this and I meet that person of my dreams? What if I do this and now I can change the generation of my family? What if I do something that can change the world? So it's that what if that could be a perspective that could allow the fear of unknown to cease and to be able to get out there and just be amazing in the world and make that positive impact that can't be erased.
Yeah, just go out and do it, right? I mean,
Just do it.
you don't know, right? You don't know. You can talk about it, you can wonder about it, but you'll never get the answer until you give it a shot. And so that's I think when Nike coined the phrase "just do it," they knew exactly what they were talking about because that really is what it is. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, I love it. I totally love it. Totally love it.
Oh yeah.
So helping to empower people is a big part of your work as well. And big fan. The reason why I'm a big fan of empowerment is you're teaching people to do something for themselves, right? It's like I am teaching someone how to fish instead of catching a fish for them. I wonder if you could talk about how you do that and what that looks like for people.
My empowerment is very different from anyone else's. There's a reason I get individuals jazzed about success. But I believe that empowerment can come from various components. And it can come from telling stories, which is empowerment. It could come from working in the arts, and you can do empowerment type of creativeness that you can put in. What you are doing is even empowerment. So for me, what I have created is an opportunity to speak to individuals and speak life to them, as well as empowering them with resources that help them with their public speaking. I believe personally that not only speaking is the number one way to build businesses and build opportunities, it's the number one way to really shift the dynamic of your life. And so if you do that, you're able to move forward and do things. So that is how I empower people, through the words that they speak out of their mouth, because that is what helps people to make an impact. And also just being who I am, an advocate for joy, helping people in all things just to feel that vibe that they perhaps have missed, and to really believe again. When people see me, Audley, they see me and they say, wow, look at Jasmine. Look at her and this, look at her and that. But I don't want them to just look at me. I want them to use the resources of empowerment that I can give them, so that way they can be able to be movers and shakers just as well in the world.
Yeah, it seems I every time you speak, I say, I love that, but I love that,
That's
right?
your phrase for me. I love that.
I do, I really do, because, and especially the part around being ourselves and we can authentically be that person that we're supposed to be. Again, we've got no idea. So, that colleague of mine I talked about, wasn't, decided not to be a piano teacher, and she wouldn't be able to impact a dozen students. But by taking on this mantle of I can teach others music, and that music they can bring out to their world or to their home and impact, it just spreads. And so, but it does go back to the person who you're meant to be. It's so important that we be that individual, and not because of an immediate gain for us. We certainly will gain for sure in terms of what the benefit to ourselves, but what it does for others. And that's the piece that I just absolutely love.
Absolutely. And I believe that authenticity, like when you are your authentic self, nobody else can be like you. They may have similar things that they can relate on, but you
Yes.
are your own person. It's like your fingerprint. No one has your fingerprint. So no one has your personality, your vibe. You'll meet somebody who has similar things, like I said, but you are unique. That's what makes a standout brand. Nobody can say they can be like Jasmine Romaine. Nobody has the stories that Jasmine Romaine has, and nobody has
Right.
your stories. No one has the people who are listening stories, but we can
Yes.
find common ground and can relate on some aspects. But it's that authenticity that stands out in a whole big way.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that I wanted to comment on, we sort of touched on empowerment and how you empower individuals, was the part around that where it can be a really, really small act. Again, we oftentimes think that there's these big things that we've got to do, these big acts and waves of audaciousness, but certainly can be small and very, very, very impactful at the same time. So I wanted to at least comment on that.
Absolutely. And I love random acts of kindness. Like we think, like you say, it has to be big. You can have something so small and it can make that one person's day, but then it's a domino effect because they're going to pay it forward, right? And then it's going to continue to move on. And that's how you do it. And we just make these positive impacts every single day.
Very, very cool. And you without question, you have made all sorts of positive impact and influence. One of the ways you've done it is by being an author, right? You know, put pen to paper, and all of a sudden you're an author. Let's talk about your book, Jasmine.
Yes, yes. I have two books. One of my books is called Jazz Inspirations. And so, you know what, Audley, even though I speak positive, there was a time in my life where I was going through the motions looking for my next big gig in radio. But every single day, I will always find a way to jazz it up. I'm like, even though I'm looking for a way, I'm going to jazz it up. So I wrote my first book called Jazz Inspirations because I had a moment where I was like, ugh, but I twisted it around so it inspired. And that was to inspire people to help make it through their day. But then my other book is all about the mission that I'm continuously on every single day, which is amplifying voices. And it's called Speak to Profit, how to speak with confidence and jazz up your sales. And the reason why it's about jazzing up your sales is because I believe that connections matter through storytelling. And so as you're speaking with confidence, you're actually telling your story, but your story could actually sell you for your next opportunity, whether that is your next client, whether it is your next big gig in corporate. It is an opportunity that you can utilize that you can jazz up your sales without being salesy. So it's the communication that you put out that really connects to people and they're automatically like, hey, I want you. Come on in without even selling it.
Yeah, man. The application of voice and the work that you do around that, when you can give people a voice, again, we talk about what empowerment is. When you can do that, and you're ability to do that, and it's again, you're giving so much life. I wonder, I wonder if you can, and I'd love to hear if you were to define, and you said it's something, I want to jazz it up. What does that define that for? What is that?
When you jazz it up, it's not doing things the traditional way. It's doing things that come easier for you. It's the fun way in you. It is that exciting way in you. So, whatever that may be, your fun may not be my fun, but whatever is easier for you, use that. It's all about being really the authentic you. And so, whatever authentic you need to bring to the table, use that. I know I'm a woman from the South in Florida in the US, and I use my Southernness. It comes out naturally because it's in my DNA, But then I also have Caribbean roots in me. So my Bahamian might come out a little bit. And then I have a little bit of New Yorker in me. So my New York state of mind comes out of me. And then, of course, I have some DC. So I like to go with consistency. But every single thing comes out of me, but I'm really authentically me. And so jazzing it up is that fun version, but it's also being authentically you. That's what jazzing it up is all about. We don't have to go to traditional method. Let's just be ourselves and make that impact.
Well, I want to thank you for jazzing up the way you do. I think it's important. I'm glad that we had this chance to talk about this and talk like this. It's been amazing. Again, I'm a big fan of the work and big fan of what you're doing, and so appreciative that we take the time to chat like this. If our listeners were obviously jazzed, no question about that. They've heard you and they are jazzed. If our listeners wanted to connect with you or learn more about you or just learn about your work, where can we send them?
Absolutely. They can go to www.jasmineromaine.com.
Amazing. Jasmine, this has been so awesome. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. And congratulations on all the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Thank you for Audacious Living, for making your impact in the world as well. Because of your impact, I'm able to continue my impact. So thank you for all you do. You are what I call a world changer as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, how about this? I'll keep doing my part as long as you keep doing yours.
That sounds like a deal.
Thanks, Jasmine. Take care.
Likewise.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Jasmine for stopping by and helping us to understand the vibrant, creative, the energy of jazz. Watch our lives transform into a symphony of audacious joy and passion fulfillment. We've come to the end of another episode of the Audacious Living